At long last, we finally return to Porterverse OCs. This time, we'll be shedding some light on a newer OC from the Porterverse. This here is Jackie. Jackie is the newest OC of my creation, and is one I'm also making a model of currently. It'll actually probably be done by the time this video goes up. I'll put a picture on screen if it's done by the time I'm editing this. But if not, expect her showcase video sometime 2025, I guess. We'll first explore Jackie's origins and backstory, and then her character traits and what she is like personality-wise and all that. Now then, without further ado, let's begin. Jackie was built in 1949 alongside her 9 siblings at Swindon Works. Nobody really knows which number she was given upon entering service, but the number she did end up with eventually was 1506. Engine 1506 was documented working in Wales for its service life, but there is a fair chance that Jackie isn't 1506. She could be any one of them between 1503 and 1508. The reason being that 1501 is the IRL preserved engine, and 1502 and 1509 were parts donors for 1501 and were eventually scrapped. So it leaves it down between these few. So whatever the case may be, Jackie ended up with number 1506 by the time she was withdrawn in 1963. 1506 wound up being on the back burners of these scrapyards and was left sitting for a good few years. After some time, she was already written off as scrap by this point, and she was left sitting in the elements, slowly rusting away. In the early to mid 1970s, Sir Stephen Tom Hatch was actively looking for engines to save from scrap that can work on the recently reborn Northwestern Railway. He came across the slowly rusting 1506 and knew she had to be saved, especially after learning the fates of 1502 and 1509. So Tom knew another example of the 1500 class needed to be preserved. And so, Stephen had promptly purchased Jackie for Northwestern Railway service. Jackie would steam once again. Jackie herself hoped to be in service way sooner than expected, but she did have to wait a good few years. You see, during this time, Crobensgate Locomotive Works was absolutely overloaded with engines being restored for service. You see, a few years back in 1968, the NWR split off from British Railways, and part of the whole deal was that British Railways would hand over a bunch of withdrawn engines to the Northwestern, and they will all be used across the NWR's network. And most of them were being restored pretty much around the same time, so the workforce of the engine works was stretched pretty thin. And given that Jackie was one of the later arrivals, she was effectively put on the back of the queue for some time. Eventually, she was fully restored by 1981 and painted up in Great Western Mint, a color she always wanted to wear, especially given that she was stuck wearing BR black her whole life and now deeply resented British Railways after being withdrawn. Jackie was assigned to the Callan branch line, which was in dire need of a third engine to run at full time alongside Duck and Oliver. It was basically standard protocol at this time that GWR engines and rolling stock were to be on this line, as it was dubbed the Little Western, and so Jackie was the perfect fit. She mostly handles goods work and shunting, and still runs on the Little Western branch line with Duck, Oliver, Toad, and all the other Great Westerners to this very day. When it comes to character traits, Jackie is fairly suave in her mannerisms. She is considered a little bit more laid back when it comes to a lot of things in life. She is basically the female and lesbian version of Hercules from Tugs. Jackie is also fairly similar to Daisy in a lot of ways. Both are ragingly gay and of high status in appearance. But they differ on one thing: preferences in work. Daisy despises goods work with all of her heart and only prefers doing passenger work, while Jackie absolutely loves goods work and often is pretty chummy with the trucks, which comes as a shock to a lot of engines. Jackie even says that she prefers goods work to passenger services. She does get along well with all the other coaches and stuff, but she does prefer hanging out with the trucks generally, and it's one of the very few engines that actually make them behave. Jackie is also good buddies with Duck, Oliver, Toad, and all the other Little Western coaches, given all their heritage, and they all get along very well. Jackie usually interacts with Toad the most, given that she is mostly a goods engine and Toad is used on goods trains. Jackie is also good friends with Sigrid and all the RSL Tramway engines. She also low-key has a crush on Circuit, but she won't tell it to anybody, so she usually enjoys her time at Count Station. Arthur and Ryan are also up there in terms of being friends with Jackie as well, given that all three of these branch lines connect at Callan. So naturally, they would all be pretty chummy with one another. Speaking of Callan, Rosie is the shunter at Count Station, and is basically a cousin of Jackie, since they have very similar designs in that Jackie's class was based on Rosie's class. And because of this, they get along extremely well, and they chat all the time whenever possible, sometimes pretty loudly, according to Duck and Oliver. I'd like to discuss something that I've never really touched on in this series yet. Voices. I have a headcanon voice for almost every major player in the Porterverse. I might make a whole video for this topic, but I'd like to reveal Jackie's voice here. What Jackie's voice would sound like if you were to meet her in person, she would sound similar to that of Hayley Atwell. If you somehow have no idea who she is, or what she sounds like, I recommend watching Captain America: The First Avenger and the new Tomb Raider animated series on Netflix to get a good idea. Oh yeah, Jackie sounds very similar to Hayley Atwell. In terms of interests, Jackie is a huge nerd for the Technicolor aesthetic in Technicolor movies. She loves all those old school movies and their color grading. As you can imagine, Jackie is also a huge fan of Wes Anderson movies because of this. Jackie has always been an advocate for vibrancy and bright colors all around, part of the reason why she chose to wear Great Western Mint on the Northwestern. Jackie's favorite movie in the whole world is Monty Python and the Holy Grail. To her, it is the perfect movie on all fronts. Whenever asked why, she just says, "It's Monty Python the Holy Grail," and nothing more. And as you can imagine, Jackie is also a huge advocate for these kinds of movies on Engine movie nights. Overall, Jackie is a very suave, gay type of character, and has a burning passion for her interests and friends around her. And that was my newest OC, Jackie. I'd say it's probably one of my more favorite OCs that I've made, if I do say so myself, as I really like how her design and personality came out. At first, I was a little bit unsure how to tackle her promo art design, but once I saw getting the general outline down, I just knew it was going to be a good one, especially how I tackled the face as well. I am super proud of how this character turned out, and I can't wait to officially debut her in her debut story. I don't really have any idea when I'll make that, since I have a lot of other stories I want to make too, but just know it's happening eventually. But yeah. Thank you all very much for watching this episode of Porterverse OCs, and I shall see you all same time next week.